led to this. Half heart and one way or the other never ends good. That's why Jesus is conveying to us. That's why we talk about being fully devoted, being loyal to Him, listening to Him, obeying Him. It's not just, He's ruler, He's judge, you do what I say. He wants the best for us. And the best for us is the wisdom and knowledge that He gives to us. Amen. But He also says this, if you don't want it, I'll go elsewhere. Let me ask you this. If God withdrew from our hearts, God withdrew from your heart, how long would it take before you noticed? If God withdrew from your hearts, how long would it take before you noticed? Go back to, He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but not wholeheartedly. You can have a form of godliness, Timothy says, and have no power. You can go through the motions, you can check the box. But if that's the way you live, you'll never know if God was absent. And now I want to conclude this story with how all this comes back to Jesus. Because Jesus was fully devoted, all in, surrendered to the will of God, that you may have life, that I may have life. He was not half-hearted. He was fully engaged in everything. Paul Tripp says this, Jesus marched toward the cross because God is unwilling to compromise His justice in order to deliver His forgiveness. Why is this so important? Because you can't just sin and do whatever you want every day, every moment, and it be okay with God. Because we may say, look, this is harsh. This is not. Where's the love in that? God is justice. He is justice and truth and righteousness. And He has a standard of Himself. And He's not going to bow below that for your salvation. For anybody. Let me read that again. Jesus marched toward the cross because God is unwilling to compromise. He's not going to compromise His justice in order to give you forgiveness that you need to have salvation. But Jesus, as disciples, we must understand that God's unchanging law and His unconditional love are linked together for our benefit. He's not going to bless you for living unrighteous. There must be judgment for sin. That's who He is. And we honor Him for that. That He just doesn't bend at every wind. He just doesn't bend for you, but not you. And this one for not this one. That's who He is. But because He's unwilling to compromise or bend, and we had a sin problem, Jesus enters the picture. And because of Jesus, He can show His unchanging law of death to sin and show His unconditional love by Jesus' death for you and for me. Why are we asked to be devoted? Because He gave His all. He didn't bend His law, and He didn't subtract His love. It came at a cost. The cross, the price was the cross, and He did it. And so I don't want to be this type of a Christian. I don't want my name in verse 2. I don't want to say Joe did was right in the eyes of the Lord, but not wholeheartedly. I don't want my name there. I don't want my name there. And I don't want your name there. And I know He does not want your name there. So for us not to go down that whole chapter of your life, we must be wholeheartedly. And really, God asks for obedience, love, devotion, trust, faith. Really, how hard is that? How hard is it to give Him our everything the way He gave that to us? It's interesting how this chapter, I haven't read that book in a long time, just pops up in front of my eyes right after Easter. And it fits so well for what when we celebrate Jesus' death and resurrection, that this is what we should be doing. And this was what we need to be reminded of, to give Him everything the way He gave to us. So what do we do from here? Do we say, hey, amen?